Chicago, 1945. The city was a bustling hub of activity, recovering from the scars of World War II. The streets were filled with people trying to rebuild their lives, seeking normalcy in a world that had been turned upside down. The war was over, but a new kind of terror was about to grip the city. The headlines spoke of hope and renewal, but beneath the surface a sinister force was brewing, waiting to strike. It began with a whisper, a rumor of a chilling message scrawled in lipstick on a freshly painted wall. The message was simple yet horrifying, sending shivers down the spines of those who saw it. "Catch me before I kill more. I cannot control myself." The words were a stark warning, a cry for help, and a threat all rolled into one. These weren't the ramblings of a lovesick teenager but a terrifying premonition. The city was on edge, the air thick with fear and uncertainty, a promise of violence that would soon stain the streets of Chicago red. The police were baffled, the public terrified, and the media hungry for every gruesome detail. The city held its breath. Every shadow seemed to hide a potential threat, every stranger a possible suspect. The tension was palpable, a city on the brink of hysteria. Little did they know, the nightmare was just beginning. The foggy streets of Chicago became a playground for the unknown assailant, each night bringing new horrors. The police dismissed it as a prank, a sick joke. They couldn't fathom the depths of the darkness that was about to be unleashed. But in the shadows, a predator lurked. Someone who moved with calculated precision, leaving behind a trail of fear and confusion. Someone who craved more than just attention. They craved fear, the kind of fear that seeps into your bones and keeps you awake at night. And they were about to unleash it upon the city, painting their own twisted masterpiece on the canvas of Chicago's innocence. The red lipstick became a symbol of terror, a mark of the killer's presence. The lipstick killer was ready for his debut. The stage was set and Chicago was about to witness a horror unlike any it had ever seen. Josephine Ross was a woman of simple pleasures. She lived a life that many would describe as ordinary, yet it was filled with small joys that made her days meaningful. Her neighbors often saw her tending to her garden, a serene smile on her face as she nurtured her beloved roses. She was known for her kindness, always ready to lend a helping hand or share a comforting word. A quiet life in a quiet neighborhood. The kind of place where everyone knew each other, and doors were rarely locked. It was a community bound by trust and mutual respect, where the biggest excitement was the annual summer fair. But on a cold December night, her world was shattered. The tranquility of the neighborhood was pierced by a horror that no one could have anticipated. The night was eerily silent, the kind of silence that precedes a storm. Found sprawled on her apartment floor, her life brutally taken. The scene was one of utter devastation, a stark contrast to the warmth and love that had once filled her home. It was a scene that would chill even the most hardened detective. The brutality of the act was beyond comprehension, leaving seasoned investigators grappling with the sheer savagery they were confronted with. Josephine's wounds were numerous, inflicted with a savagery that spoke of pure rage. Each wound told a story of anger and violence, a testament to the fury that had been unleashed upon her. Yet, amidst the brutality, there was a chilling detail, something that set this crime apart from others, a detail that would haunt the investigators for years to come. Josephine's wounds had been meticulously cleaned. It was as if the killer had taken great care to erase any trace of their presence, a methodical approach that suggested a disturbing level of premeditation. Almost as if the killer took pride in their work. A calling card. This meticulousness was not just about avoiding detection, it was a signature, a macabre declaration of their twisted artistry. A macabre signature that sent shivers down the spines of investigators. The realization that they were dealing with someone who saw murder as an art form was deeply unsettling. Fear crept into the hearts of Chicagoans. The news of Josephine's murder spread like wildfire, leaving a community in shock and disbelief. People began to question their safety, their trust in the familiar faces around them eroding. Who was this monster hiding in plain sight? The question lingered in the air, a dark cloud over the city. The search for answers had begun, but the path to uncovering the truth would be long and fraught with danger. Months later, terror struck again. Frances Brown, a young divorcee, became the next victim. Her apartment, like Josephine's, was the stage for a horrific display. The scene was chaotic, furniture overturned, signs of a struggle. But it was the message scrawled in crimson lipstick on Frances's bedroom wall that sent shockwaves through the city. "For heaven's sake, catch me before I kill more, I cannot control myself." The words jumped out stark and terrifying. The killer was toying with them, their arrogance on full display. The city was gripped by fear. The killer was evolving, becoming bolder, more brazen. The message was a terrifying reminder: no one was safe. Panic swept through Chicago like a virus. The killer, dubbed the Lipstick Killer by the media, had become a morbid celebrity. Every household, every street corner, buzzed with fear and speculation. Mothers clutched their children a little tighter. Lovers whispered goodnight through locked doors. The city that never slept was losing its nerve. Then came the unthinkable. 6-year-old Suzanne Degnan vanished from her bed, her small window left ajar. Days later, her dismembered body was found scattered across the city, discarded like trash. The brutality of the crime shocked even the most hardened police officers. This wasn't just murder, it was a statement. A terrifying escalation that sent the city into a frenzy. William Heirens was a troubled youth, in and out of trouble with the law, petty theft, breaking and entering, nothing to suggest he was capable of the horrors attributed to the Lipstick Killer. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. Heirens became the prime suspect, his fingerprints found at one of the crime scenes. The police, under immense pressure to catch the monster terrorizing their city, saw Heirens as their answer. He was interrogated relentlessly, deprived of sleep, and subjected to questionable methods. Heirens, young and vulnerable, eventually confessed. But was it a genuine confession, or the desperate act of a broken young man under duress? Heirens' confession was as shocking as it was confusing. The young man, barely out of his teens, found himself at the center of a media storm. His words, though seemingly straightforward, left many scratching their heads. He spoke of a shadowy figure named George Merman, claiming this alter ego was responsible for the murders. This mysterious persona, he said, would emerge from the depths of his mind, taking over his actions and compelling him to commit unspeakable acts. Heirens claimed George took control, forcing him to commit these horrific acts. It was as if he was a puppet, with George pulling the strings. The narrative was bizarre, almost surreal, and it left both the public and the authorities in a state of disbelief. Was it a desperate attempt to escape responsibility? Or perhaps a genuine cry for help from a fractured mind? The courtroom buzzed with speculation, each person forming their own theories about the young man's mental state. Or was there more to Heirens' story than met the eye? Some detectives believed there were layers to his confession, hidden truths that had yet to be uncovered. They pondered over every word, every gesture, trying to piece together the puzzle. The details in his confession were vague, often contradicting the evidence. There were inconsistencies that couldn't be ignored. Some parts of his story matched the crime scenes perfectly, while others seemed to be pure fabrication. Despite this, Heirens was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. The jury, swayed by the gruesome nature of the crimes and the pressure to find a culprit, delivered their verdict swiftly. The city of Chicago breathed a collective sigh of relief. The fear that had gripped the streets began to dissipate. People felt safer, believing that the monster who had terrorized their community was finally behind bars. The monster was behind bars, but as the years went by, questions lingered. Was Heirens truly the monster everyone believed him to be? Or was he a victim of circumstance, caught in a web of his own making? But was justice truly served? The scales of justice are meant to balance, yet in this case many felt they had tipped unfairly. The ominous clouds over the courtroom seemed to symbolize the doubts that hung over the case, or had they simply condemned a troubled young man to pay for crimes he may not have committed? The debate continues to this day, with some advocating for his innocence and others firmly believing in his guilt. The truth, it seems, remains as elusive as ever. Over the years, doubts lingered. Heirens recanted his confession, claiming it was coerced. Experts questioned the validity of the evidence, pointing to inconsistencies and potential police misconduct. Was William Heirens a scapegoat, a convenient solution to a city paralyzed by fear, or was he truly the monster who terrorized Chicago, hiding behind a facade of insanity? The debate raged on. Heirens spent his life behind bars, maintaining his innocence until his death in 2012. But the questions remained. Did the police, desperate to appease a terrified public, manufacture a case against an easy target? The Lipstick Killer case left an indelible mark on Chicago. It became a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of any city. The case also highlighted the flaws in the justice system, how fear and pressure can lead to miscarriages of justice. Even today, the case is studied by criminologists and debated by armchair detectives. The lipstick killer's reign of terror may have ended, but the mystery remained. Was William Heirens truly the monster who terrorized Chicago? Or did the real lipstick killer vanish into the shadows, their identity a chilling secret buried by time? The lipstick killer case serves as a stark reminder that some mysteries may never be fully solved. It's a story that continues to fascinate and horrify, a tale whispered in hushed tones throughout the Windy City. Did the police get it right, or did a miscarriage of justice occur? Was William Heirens the victim or the perpetrator? The answer, lost to time, remains elusive. But one thing is certain, the legend of the lipstick killer will continue to haunt the streets of Chicago, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of even the brightest city.